I'm like looking at the volume. With me and you, it's normal. Always John just seems to be like fucking crazy.
Hey guys.
Because I'm like, our normal like loud talking, it sits around between like let's say 24 to 18 decibels. John jumps up to like the 0.
Want to hear me talk out of my ball sack instead, Jeff?
Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Jeff and Collin in the Morning. We are your hosts, Collin Peters.
And Jeff Manfred.
And today we're going to be talking about another, what'd you call this, another tribute or chronicle episode?
A little bit of both, to be honest.
Kind of like what we did for Rob Zombie. We didn't want to just have one specific defining movie or subject to talk. Well, subject is actually one of our favorite directors of all time, and that is Tim Burton.
Oh, absolutely. Because honestly, our original idea was to talk about 90s, and it just seemed to gravitate back towards Tim Burton stuff anyway, so that's when I'm like, why don't we just do Tim Burton instead?
I liked it, because I didn't really think about it at first, and then I said to myself, you know what, I think it would be an easier one to talk to. We're saving movies then off to the side specifically for when John comes in, so it fits perfectly, I thought.
Kind of fits the order too, because like us talking more about directors and stuff going on rather than movies themselves, so kind of a nice fit.
And earlier in October this year, I saw up at Mahoning the Weird World of Tim Burton. I was only there for one night though. They had the whole weekend going.
Oh, I thought it was only one night, so that's actually pretty cool.
No, it was. I think it was two. The first night it was Edward Scissorhands and Sleepy Hollow. I went that night because I never saw Edward Scissorhands in the theater. I had seen Sleepy Hollow back in the day, and they said it was digital, so I was like, okay, I can bounce. Plus, I had to work in the morning. Because when you're up at Mahoning, when they give you 35mm as an option, and if you never saw a movie in the big screen, it's like, hey, you might as well take advantage of watching it in 35mm.
Oh, absolutely.
Not just 35mm, but at a drive-in. But since I had already seen Sleepy Hollow, and like I said, I had to work, I was like, okay, I'll just peace out. Watch it digitally anywhere, really. And then the following night was The Nightmare Before Christmas and Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice probably would have been fun.
Beetlejuice, I'm sure, would have been a lot of fun. Ironically enough, Beetlejuice and Batman were my first movies that I know of that my parents told me that I went to see as a kid. I was 2 years old and they took me to a drive-in. I think Batman was the main feature and Beetlejuice was second.
Oh, that's actually pretty cool.
So I thought that was like a little cool memory to relive. Although I did see Beetlejuice again in the theater, was it in it might have been in 2020 in October when they were re-releasing a lot of the older movies.
Oh, that's nice.
It was either 2019 or 2020 because I remember I was just going back to the theater to see all these older movies back again to get another theater experience. And Beetlejuice was one of them.
That is such a fun movie, too.
It is, and it's not that long. It's really fast-paced, really, easy-going, good laughs. It has a little bit of Tim Burton and realism, which is actually a big theme of his, where it's living world and dead world, and we see that a lot in his films. It sets him apart from other directors, and it's become his trademark as well as his art. Like, when you watch a Tim Burton movie, you know it's a Tim Burton movie. And when you don't, you're like, wait a minute, this is a Tim Burton movie?
Yeah, like one that comes to mind, like you see it in the characters, but as in the bright colors and everything, was Alice in Wonderland. That one I was kind of taken back to begin with, because, come on, do we really need another Alice in Wonderland? But like visually, it was amazing, but there's no substance to the story.
Alice in Wonderland to me reminded me exactly of Steven Spielberg's Hook, with Robin Williams and Dustin Hoffman, where she grows up, she already had a past there, it was kind of amnesia, and she relives it, and all of a sudden everything clicks, and oh yeah, I am this girl, I am this person.
It makes sense, that route.
It felt exactly like that, and I thought, I don't think this is something you need, but that's what we got.
Yeah. I said visually it's amazing. I even have the Cheshire Cat on my arm.
I know you're a big Alice in Wonderland fan, not just from the movie, but from the book.
Yeah, honestly, I enjoyed the book. Even through the Looking Glass, I thought I didn't enjoy it as much when I was younger, but when I got older and reread them both back to back, I was like, I could see a lot of, I guess, not even a trippy idea, the fact that, like, there's a lot more going on than what they wanted to show. So, like, even, like, whatever's in the foreground is what they mainly wanted you to focus on, and then everything as they're talking is, like, stuff's happening behind her. So it's like, there's more to it than...
And I think there was a movie, Through the Looking Glass, that followed up after Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland, but yeah, I can see your face. It was bad.
Yeah.
I don't even remember it. I don't even think Tim Burton directed it.
I don't know, they tried to keep the same look and feel, but it sucked.
I feel like after 2007, after Sweeney Todd, that's when Tim Burton has had a decline in his films. A lot of stuff really hasn't been original. And to be fair, quite a bit of his stuff really isn't original to begin with anyway. I mean, he made a name for himself starting off in major motion pictures with Pee Wee Herman.
I actually enjoyed that movie.
Me too. It's a fun, whimsical movie. It's not exactly Tim Burton when you see it at first, but it's still a Tim Burton film, and it's probably the most memorable out of the Pee Wee Herman movies that were made, which
Yeah.
I don't think there were many, but...
I remember Pee Wee's Big Top and that one, so...
Well,
yeah.
that tells you a lot right there.
I mean, but the only time you can tell it might have been like a Tim Burton movie is when...
Large Marge?
Yeah, I was thinking Big Bertha for some reason. But right there at the end, like, you see the animation and everything happen, I'm like, okay, I can see that.
The whimsical sort of like atmosphere that Pee Wee has, that might contribute to some things.
I can see that, too.
And the Danny Elfman music, the combination, that was the start of it all as well.
I mean, like, honestly, I felt like their both of them together was always, you know it's going to be a good movie. And then if you take out one element, it kind of doesn't really work out so well.
It doesn't really, it feels like something's missing.
Yeah.
I know some people say that, oh, he works with Johnny Depp way too much, but you gotta admit, though, that what they do is really good.
Yeah, I mean, I technically could even say him and Michael Keaton worked a lot out.
Absolutely.
Before he got into the Johnny Depp era.
Yeah, yeah.
But, like, in the 80s, you had a lot from him. Like, even, did the short Vincent come out in the 80s, too?
Yep.
Because I remember watching that, I'm like, I loved that one. I also loved the short film for Frankenweenie, which we did not need a remake of. But
it was still fun.
Yeah.
I mean, the feature version was a lot of fun. It was cool that it was claymation.
Yeah.
And that could have also just been something where he was contractually obligated to make a picture, and he was like, oh, I don't know what to do here. I'll just do this. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like, man, what a waste, but it wasn't like it was a bad film at all.
No.
It was just another version. You didn't, it wasn't like you could make a sequel to Frankenweenie at all, but it's pretty much the way the short is, the way the animation is. I think it's just a little more in the animation than the live action.
I think the claymation movie, they had more of a love letter to all the monsters, where the original one was just a love letter to Frankenstein, where they ended up adding in kaiju and the Creature from Black Lagoon and stuff like that into the claymation because they needed a feature-length film. So it's like, I could see it, but I could see, like, you see his love for the older horror movies there, and which I thought was actually really cool.
And everybody can relate to having a pet, or pet lovers, I should say, can relate to the movie and losing it, and what would you do for that? And it was also really bittersweet because it's a boy and his puppy, and I'll admit when I saw it in the theaters, because I had a pit bull named Ozzy. He was my buddy and companion. I thought of him in that situation, and I was like, oh. He was still around at the time, but I knew the day was going to come, and it kind of like settled into my head, and I was like, yeah, what's that going to be like? But I thought that was one of the very few that were pretty decent after 2007. Even Dark Shadows, I know, gets a bad reputation, and that came after 2007, but I really didn't think that was that awful of a movie.
No.
It wasn't great, but I remember thinking Johnny was very good in it. Another one who really impressed me was Michelle Pfeiffer, because we hadn't seen her in quite a bit, and it was her first time with Tim Burton since Batman Returns, I believe.
Oh, wow.
I think so.
That's kind of crazy, though. Like, the people he likes to work with, he always tries to bring back. And seeing that again is actually really cool.
Working with actors that you know are good is hard. And especially people that you know you're going to have a good time with, because when you hear those horror stories about actors and anybody on set, really, when things are difficult, it fucking sucks. It is horrible. It makes not only you doing your job harder, but it also makes everybody else around you harder. And I think that's the thing with guys like Tim Burton and Johnny Depp. Like, you don't really hear anything about them on set being like harsh or bad. Everybody seems to genuinely love working with them. Like, I remember Benicio del Toro said that he'd love to work with Johnny Depp again. And that was also then. I don't know what shit's like now. I mean, things with Johnny seem to have gone off the deep end, but I'm not going to get involved with personal lives. I'm just going to get involved with the art and what we know from then. Like, now is a totally different story, so I'm not even going to get into that. But what they did was magic at that time, and having good camaraderie. Like guys like Keaton yet. I remember Keaton said when he got cast for Batman, the only reason why he really committed to it was because of Tim Burton. Because of working with him on Beetlejuice, and he trusted him. And they said, we're going to go serious, not funny, because when you get a guy like Michael Keaton and all the criticism that he got, he was like, well, what if somebody's lying to me and they could sabotage this whole thing? Which sometimes it happens. I think there was even an Entourage episode where, what's his name, Johnny Vincent, or I forget what the main character's name is, but he was just trying to make his comeback, and the one director was just sabotaging his direction, saying like, say things like this, say things like that, and then they were just fighting, and finally the director said, how about this, you're fired.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, so I could see how Michael Keaton might have been a little bit on edge with that, but because Tim Burton was there and knew he had his back, it put a little ease on him. Even Nicholson, they said, was very comforting and supportive, because Batman was a huge production at that time. There was a lot of momentum, and it's basically like how we view sequels nowadays. I remember watching a marketing documentary about Batman being in production, and they said that the thing about Batman was it had this ball of fire, like, ready to go, and people just wanted to see a Batman product in the worst way, because you had the comic book, you had the TV show, and so, like, everything about it was known. Like, there was nothing that was going to be new and unknown territory, so it was easy to market. And it was such a big production because they figured this was going to be a big hit, but it had to be good at the same time. And Tim Burton was still a pretty fresh director. At that time, he only made Pee-wee and Beetlejuice. Even though both were successes, I don't think they were these huge blockbuster hits.
I feel like those two might have fell under the same thing as a lot of the 80s were, where they were good, but it was time that made them even better. So, like, going back now and rewatching Beetlejuice, or going back now and rewatching Pee-wee, you might actually enjoy it more. Like, I've always loved Beetlejuice, but as I got older, I started enjoying the jokes. When he's talking about The Exorcist and watching it 1,000 fucking times.
And it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it.
Come on, like, even us as kids, like, we didn't know what the hell that was. So, after watching the movie, he's like, what the fuck?
The sexual innuendos in it.
What is it, the whorehouse that pops up?
Yeah.
Just so that they can get out.
Go ahead, make my millennium.
Oh. And, like, even the subtle things, like, when he's pulling stuff out of his pockets and he's trying to get, wow, my brain is not working today on names. Wow.
Winona Ryder?
No, the other woman who actually is the ghost.
Oh, Gina Davis.
Yeah.
Barbara.
And when he's like throwing stuff at her face just to get her shut up during the wedding, it's like knocking Alec Baldwin's teeth out just so that he would stop talking. So it's like, it's all the little stuff he even throws in just to make it even funnier, but you don't realize it because you're focusing in on everybody else. I mean, how bad that art was.
Yeah. And then the changes in the house.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, it was horrible.
It was a cute house. Now, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. And the sheets, when the ghost put on the sheets to try to scare the family away. And Jeffrey, was it Jeffrey Wright?
Yeah.
Or Jones? And he's the dad, and he's Lydia's dad, and he says, your mother's going to kill you when she sees you put holes in her $300 sheets.
Yeah. Even Lydia going, what are you now living dead under there? Trying to look through the eye holes.
Night of the living, what?
You know what? That movie is still amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, as we're talking about it, I'm like, I feel like I should watch that again. Yeah. Halloween's over, might as well.
It keeps you in the spirit. It's probably Tim Burton's first. I think it is Tim Burton's first movie where he has that the living world and then the dead world and how they combine together. Because, like I said, that does become a theme with him, like with Nightmare Before Christmas. Then, even though trivia here is that a lot of people still are under the assumption that Nightmare Before Christmas is a Tim Burton film. It's his product, but it's not a movie he directed.
The guy who directed Nightmare Before Christmas also did Coraline. Didn't he do James and the Giant Peach too?
Yes.
So it's like he had the same feel that Tim Burton did. So they both were on the same level of, we can make this the creepy aesthetic of death and living. So it's like, plus the claymation was amazing in all three of those films.
Absolutely. Same thing with Corpse Bride.
Yeah.
That was another living world, dead world, and
I feel like that movie is overshadowed by Nightmare Before Christmas because everyone feels like it's inferior, but if you actually watch it as a whole, I'm like, that has the better storyline, and like even some of the songs fit better when it plays out through because it fits everything that's going on. But Nightmare Before Christmas is a straight holiday movie. Either Halloween or Christmas, it fits both genres, but it's literally just Christmas or Halloween music.
I think the thing with Nightmare Before Christmas is it's a generational thing yet. Like, we grew up with it as kids, and when we saw it, I know for me personally, I fell in love with it instantly. I thought it was a great movie, the music was fantastic, and the other thing is the characters were really cool. Like, Jack Skellington was a great character, Sally was a great character. The mayor is a lot of fun. You had Lock, Shock, and Barrel fighting Oogie Boogie.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Even Santa Claus was really cool in the movie.
I mean, even some of the background characters, looking at like the Wolfman and the clown that can tear away his face.
The three vampires.
Yeah, and like even those had like little subtle jokes throughout it. So like even as that, it's a really fun movie. But I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for this. The amount of popularity and love for that movie does not warrant the how is it? Not the backlash. What I'm looking for is the overflooding of the market of Nightmare Before Christmas shit, okay? Because like it's something that wasn't taken seriously when it first came out. Even Disney didn't want anything to fucking do with it. It wasn't until later when it became popular that they're like, oh, this is Disney's Nightmare Before Christmas. Get the fuck out of here. So like I'm happy that we got the game. That was actually really cool. That was a cool sequel. They just more recently started doing was not theater, like not play musicals, where I know Billie Eilish actually played Sally, and I think it was actually 2 nights ago where they actually did it.
Oh no shit!
I think it was Halloween.
Oh, right, appropriate.
Because she was posting pictures of her like trying to hide that she was Sally, like had some of the makeup on, and I thought it was really cool looking. So
and that's another thing. It's really cool theatrical effects that you can pull it off, especially the Halloween costumes now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, people before used to try to figure out ways and contraptions of making Jack Skellington's face and mask, and now they're just doing body art, and that's how they do it. And the body art that people do nowadays is really incredible.
Yeah.
Like, one of my favorite things that I look at is when people do Venom.
Oh yeah, with the paint and everything.
When they do, the mouth is like by the neck, so when they move their head around, it looks like the mouth is moving, and really it's just they're picking their chin up, and I was like, oh, that is super sick. But the people who do the Jack Skellington stuff is just so spot on, and I'm just like, wow, that is incredible. But I understand what you're saying when it comes to the marketing and all the merchandise. I think it's just what Disney does. They're just going to write it. I mean, look at things like Cinderella and Snow White that have been around for 80 years or whatever it is, you know. I think Nightmare Before Christmas is definitely going to fit into that umbrella and they're going to write it. I mean, same thing with Star Wars. I mean, before it was George Lucas's thing, and now Disney's just taking Star Wars into a whole nother stratosphere.
Yeah, yeah.
And then same's with Marvel now.
Like I said, it's not that it's bad. I feel like it's an oversaturation. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. Like, how many more trinkets and statues do we need of the same characters?
I look around, I think I actually own the vinyl for the soundtrack because Danny Elfman's music and the singing alone is what stands out. I'm like, that's probably the only thing I own besides the movie now, because I know before I had a lot.
Yeah. I know I had this really cool hand-sculpted Nightmare Before Christmas Village set by the Bradford Exchange or whatever they were called before. And I bequeath that to my nieces now because I know they love it. I think it's a lot easier to watch than Corpse Bride, but like you said, Corpse Bride does have more of a story, and I don't think Corpse Bride is as relatable as like you want to be Victor or Emily kind of thing. I mean, I know some people do and they pull it off really well.
Oh, yeah.
I just think the characters in Nightmare maybe are a little more fun.
Yeah.
But that, like you said though, that's not disregarding anything of Corpse Bride, because Corpse Bride is a fantastic movie. I don't know if anybody's like not seen it, but I recommend it. Because I think that and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory came out that year, which even I think isn't as terrible as some people make it out to be. Because
he went darker. That was about it.
Because if you read the book, it's actually more accurate to the book. And people nowadays, well, it's not like the book. If you're talking about any sort of movie.
Oh, yeah.
And here, it's actually more accurate than what it was. And then some people will be like, well, he fucked my childhood up because it's not how Gene Wilder was. And it's like, well, no,
nobody's like Gene Wilder.
Nobody, yeah, exactly. And Johnny was playing Willy Wonka the way how, I don't want to say that's how he was supposed to be, but closer to an adaptation of how.
Because if you look at it, like Charlie, Willy Wonka was a recluse. He worked with
Oompa
Loompas. So his own interaction with people is Oompa Loompas, who really were his workers. So it's like that's all his interaction was. It wasn't the outside world. That his factory was his quarantine, his home base. That's all it was. So he's gonna be weird. I mean, like, literally, they have their own language for the Oompa Loompas. Yeah, you're gonna be weird.
And it kind of goes back to that Howard Hughes sort of thing where, so many people come up to you and they want your money, or they want to harm you because you're more successful than them, or they're going to try to ride you for what they are. And same thing kind of goes with like the Slugworth situation where he was stealing Willy Wonka stuff. So he had to like tighten everything down as far as security and who he could trust goes. And he was so cut off from the outside world and being like shunned out from his father. So that kind of won't make anybody normal either. They made it look like in the movie that he didn't have any father figure when he was a kid.
His dad being Christopher Lee, the amazing
Sick.
Christopher Lee, dude. That was another guy that Tim Burton worked with a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it was like short little like cameos, it was still amazing just to see Christopher Lee in his movies.
Well, Tim Burton was a huge fan of those old gothic horror movies.
Obviously.
I mean, same thing can be said with him working with Vincent Price, because not only did he work with him on the short film Vincent, but Price was also the inventor in Edward Scissorhands that created Edward, who was supposed to be built from a heart of a cookie, and here he was supposed to finish him, and he died before he could actually put hands on Edward, and he was stuck in a building, and once again, he was a recluse.
Yeah. And like his whole life, like going into flashbacks with Vincent Price, you can see that there's no cuts on his face. Come on, over time having scissor hands, and then you see all the scars when Johnny comes out. I was like, damn.
And he's more pale, and he has the dark circles around the eyes after the inventor passes away. So it goes to show a time, and his hair's all messed up. So there was like a really good time lapse to show that things have shifted.
Yeah. That movie's a fun movie. Really odd if you look at it as a whole. But
it's really not all that different when you think about it. It's no different than, say, somebody who's different, feels like they don't fit in with society. It's just taken to an extreme. I feel like there isn't a specific time for it, though, because it looks like the mom and pop neighborhood is sort of like the 60s or a Beaver Cleaver kind of era.
Yeah.
But there's still 90s stuff and more current events kind of clothing, you know. But I think it also falls in with that Batman 89 realm, because from what I had read, it's supposed to be how Tim Burton didn't really fit in with people around him or his home life, and you had the nosy neighbors that are always calling each other in town being like, what's going on with this person, what's going on with that person, like, who is this guy, we all need to go see him, we all need to go ask, you know, the lady who's bringing him in, like, what's going on.
Yeah, like I said, nothing. It's a really good movie. Like I said, just odd because like, I haven't lived in a town until more recently, so it's like I kind of get to see a little bit of that going on. So like, funny story. First time I met most of my neighbors is I was actually on my roof, and it was 8:00 in the morning because I had to fix the gutter. So it's like tattooed guy, roof. First time meeting everybody is probably the funniest thing I'll ever see in my life. Like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, that's why I was waving. I even sat down at one point because I'm like, it was sweating. But yeah, so it's like seeing it from the outside view now, I get to understand why things happen the way they did in the movie.
And that's over Scissorhands in a nutshell. It's a very good movie. It's got really beautiful music by Danny Elfman. And of course, there's a love story there as well.
Yeah. And as we did in the last episode, Winona Ryder actually did an amazing job in that movie.
Absolutely.
Like even in Beetlejuice, she does an amazing job. It just she doesn't get the notoriety she should.
She also did a voice in Frankenweenie.
Yeah, she was the mom, wasn't she?
No, she was the girl that.
Pigtails, yeah.
Yep. That Victor had the crush on.
Yeah.
It was. I remember when I read that, I said, "No shit, Winona Ryder and Tim Burton back together again." I thought this is cool.
I know, and it's like I said, it's cool seeing him bring people back to do other movies. So, like we were talking earlier before we started recording, with him doing Dumbo, I didn't realize Michael Keaton was in it. I knew Michael Keaton, Colin Farrell, and Danny DeVito were, but I didn't really watch it, so I'm not gonna.
I think everything I heard about Dumbo was just absolute trash, and there for a while Tim Burton was just on the down. I'm like, I remember after Sweeney Todd, I was just like, I'm so disappointed with this stuff. Even though I enjoyed Alice in Wonderland, I didn't think it was great. And I just thought, really, dude, how many more unoriginal ideas are you gonna do?
I think after we said that is when he did the remake of Frankenweenie. I'm like,
yeah,
right?
Like here we go again.
And like I said, they're visually amazing movies. But I would like to see something more original come out again, and I think that'd be nice. But right now, I guess being on Disney's dime, you gotta wait and play the game.
It's hard work. I mean, putting a movie together is hard work. I know he had a couple other movies like Big Eyes that came out, which was all right. It was a biography more about the artist who married a husband, and he basically took credit for her work, and then that became like a court case thing and all this other stuff. Yeah. It was interesting. It was cool, but I didn't feel like, again, it was great. Amy Adams and Christoph Waltz were fantastic in it.
Honestly, she's the only reason I watched the movie, because I didn't realize it was a Tim Burton film until I started watching it.
Well, you couldn't tell, really. I mean, maybe the eyes kind of give it away, but I think he was trying to do another Big Fish was what it was.
And honestly, that movie was visually amazing, but it was actually really light, where all his other stuff was on the darker side. So it was kind of cool seeing that.
It was different because it's usually somebody's already dead in movies, and here it was, how are you handling and gripping with knowing that you're going to lose somebody, which in this case, it was the father.
Yeah. And
you hear all these far-fetched stories that the father's been telling for years, and everybody loves all these stories, and the kid's finally like, well, like, Dad, come on, you're telling me all this stuff, and I don't believe you. I don't believe any of this. It's so far-fetched. And then the mom says, not everything he says is completely out of the realm of disbelief. And here it's actually truth, just fabricated for entertainment.
Yeah. I mean, even when they show the town and everything, you start finally seeing the pieces come together. I'm like, yo.
And when I first saw Big Fish, I really enjoyed it, but it was one of those movies that I didn't rewatch right away. It still kind of isn't, but whenever it's on, or if it's time has gone by, I still watch it and enjoy it. It's not one that I go, oh, this is so bad, but I just don't feel like it has one of his rewatchabilities to it. But still, it's a very, very good movie. And when you watch it, you don't think it's a Tim Burton film at all.
No.
It pretty much has nobody he's worked with in it besides Danny DeVito that I know of. At least off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody in that movie that he worked with before.
Was Helena Bonham Carter in that?
Oh, yeah. That goes without saying.
Yeah, I feel like her and Johnny Depp are kind of like,
Yeah.
well, are they available?
Yep. We'll throw her. She played two
nothing against
characters.
their acting, it's funny because they're both in a lot of his movies. One for obvious reasons, others for...
Yeah.
But the difference between Tim Burton and Helena Bonham Carter is she can act, where Rob Zombie and Sherry Moon...
Yeah. Big difference right there.
I'm going to get beat up.
Well, and before that, he was putting his other girlfriend or fiance in at the time, Lisa Marie. Yeah. She was in a couple other movies. And at one point, Lisa Marie and Helena Bonham Carter were in the same movie, which was Planet of the Apes.
Oh, dude, I totally forgot about that movie. I want to forget about that movie. Thank you for bringing it back up. I see the only other movie I feel like gets a lot more hate than it should is probably Mars Attacks. Because, once again, it was a comic series, old school. So it's like I understood where he was coming from. It was actually a love letter to that comic series. And I thought it was, at the time when I first saw it, did not enjoy it. But it wasn't until I started finding out more about the background of what it was and why he did the stuff with it. I'm like, oh, okay. So it kind of the pieces fit together after the fact. So when I rewatch it now, it is a little more funnier because, yeah, it is an outrageous movie because aliens and the fact that bad music makes their head explode.
Yeah.
Spoiler. And the fact that Jack Nicholson plays two characters.
Yeah. The guy at the bar and the president. Yeah. Yeah, at first I felt the same way. I didn't get Mars Attacks at all. I thought it was kind of geared towards kids with the way it was marketed. Like, especially when it first came out, because there were so many Mars Attacks toys. And I thought, okay, maybe this is something I can enjoy. And then when I finally did see it, I was like, huh? And I didn't get the jokes. It was a lot of adult humor at the time, too. Everything was way over my head. But now, like you said, with time and hearing the love letter to it, I get it. And I'm like, it's actually not that bad. Had an all-star cast in it, too.
I think the one that actually catches me off guard is Jack Black dying in the beginning.
Yeah. Guys like Michael J. Fox were in it, Pierce Brosnan, Sarah Jessica Parker, although she was in Ed Wood.
Yeah.
Glenn Close was in it. Hell, it was one of Natalie Portman's earliest movies, too. Tom Jones was in it.
Tom Jones. Well, Vegas. So
yeah. Again, Danny DeVito was in it. Hell, Jim Brown. Legendary Cleveland Browns running back and became actor. Jim Brown was in it. He was the boxer.
Yeah. That's damn.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun. I actually enjoyed Jim Brown, so that was really cool. And being a football guy, it's really cool to see Jim Brown like even take in acting and find success after football.
We always keep bringing up like visually amazing. Me and you actually had the opportunity to see Tim Burton's art at the Moma in New York.
We did.
Not at the same time, which is kind of a bummer, but two separate times. But finally actually getting to see some of his stuff up close, like his drawings, his paintings, even getting to see the clay for Nightmare Before Christmas was actually probably one of the coolest things because
they are huge too. Yeah. They're not just like 6-inch figures. They are
like 12 to
I was gonna say they
18.
Probably got to be a foot and a half. And
then just seeing that, like even stuff from Batman Returns in there. They had the crib, carrot. Yep. I guess that would be. What's her name?
Michelle
Pfeiffer's small Catwoman outfit.
Now, I'm wondering if that suit was just that tight, but I also think it had to have aged and it just
kind of shrunk.
Yeah. A lot of that stuff that they make for the movies really isn't made to last. It's there to look good, and that's why a lot of actors say this stuff's so uncomfortable. But I mean, hey, the product's going to live on forever along with the costumes anyway, so.
Yeah.
There was a statue there for Edward Scissorhands. I remember that. I don't know if that was just to display the suit, and then they just made it look like it was Johnny with the face and the hair, but it had the suit and the hands, so I assume it was just a mannequin to just be put together.
Yeah, I think they did so that maybe he actually displays it like that, so they just like, oh, here you go.
Yeah.
Wasn't one of the cowls there, too?
The cowl from the Headless Horseman from Sleepy Hollow was there, and the Pumpkin King looking scarecrow from Sleepy Hollow was there as well. Of course, for me, the biggest excitement was seeing the 3 Batman cowls. I believe they were all from the first Batman movie, which was really cool. You got to still smell that latex on them, and I couldn't believe they didn't keep them in a glass case, because they were out in the open, and you could literally put your face up to it, like,
Did you smell it and put your face?
No, I didn't. But that latex is some harsh odor on there. I mean, it's not like sulfur, but it has this industrial kind of smell to it. But still, I was like, oh, it looks so cool. And when you backed away, the way they had them posing, it looked like it could have been them set up in the Batcave. Just how they were like side by side, and I think the one in the middle was a little higher, and the 2 were a little lower. Oh man, it was so cool.
The only thing they actually had encased was the stuff from Nightmare Before Christmas, because of it being clay.
They were encased. I remember the severed heads of Sarah Michelle Gellar, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Pierce Brosnan. They were in a case from Mars Attacks. I remember there was a door with all these question marks from Ed Wood from the roller coaster that him and Patricia Arquette go on. Johnny Depp and Patricia Arquette go on. That was there. I remember that. I remember there were a bunch of other things. Obviously, they had Corpse Bride there. I think they just started having some drawings for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, because I don't think Corpse Bride came out yet at that time.
I know they had some of the figures, too, in the glass case. That was about it, because
I
think it was one of those things like, well, you've already seen these characters, so it was Emily and Victor, but they didn't do anybody else. Like, this is these 2.
And a lot of his work also wasn't just this weird, out of the norm. So like he actually had won a contest for like an art project for like recycling in town, and they used his art to be the main sign, and he had kept that, and he had that displayed, and you're like, oh, that's a Tim Burton thing.
Yeah, like his art outside of his art is actually really good and bright, colorful, and then like you really don't realize it's his.
No, I mean, you see a lot of stuff that's inspired by, let me try to look it up real quick.
While he's looking this up. We also have that book, was it The Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy?
Yeah.
That has a lot of his art in it.
Shel Silverstein, he did the book Where the Sidewalk Ends. He has a lot of art that's very similar to what Tim Burton does, and I think that drew some influence on there. I could be wrong, but there's definitely
similarities.
Exactly. And I think Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy also had some influence with that book as well, or the books by Silverstein like that.
I mean, even if the book For Nightmare Before Christmas, you can see the art in there, which I actually got that recently because I'm trying to find books to read to Thea, and that was one I was like, why the hell not? Visually, it's going to be amazing. It might be really long-winded to read, but
yeah, overall, Tim Burton did create those characters and draw and create the story for The Nightmare Before Christmas. Same with Edward Scissorhands, so it's not like he can't do anything unoriginal. I don't think he wrote Beetlejuice, though. I'm not sure if he designed Beetlejuice or not either.
I mean, even if he didn't, it did look amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
he still had his touch to it, like the tilted doors, the monsters.
And that carried over in the cartoon, and I believe there's some comics or some things out there.
I'm gonna look that up.
That still have that Tim Burton-esque world that he created. And the same goes for Batman as well. I mean, when you think of Michael Keaton Batman, it's the Tim Burton world. It's not just Batman.
Yeah.
You know, and what Michael Keaton and Tim Burton did with that was absolutely phenomenal. I know people criticize Batman Returns a lot because it looks a little bit more like Tim Burton than what the first movie did.
Yeah. Because
it's not terrible.
I think it's one of those things like they had to lighten it up. He was able to, I guess, have a little more creative with it, so you get to see a little bit more of his stuff. So
the story was he didn't really want to come back for another Batman sequel, and the way they pitched it to him was, well, what if you make it more of a Tim Burton movie than a Batman movie? And that's pretty much what sold him on the idea. Which is why you see the Batcave looks extremely different. Even Gotham City doesn't really look like Gotham City. One could argue that time has changed, and in a lot of sequels, they really didn't have that continuity, even if it was the same director.
yeah.
But I remember thinking as a kid, this looks similar, but it looks different.
I mean, I feel like the crossover was it Billy D. Williams, Michael Keaton were like the main ones, and then the guy who played Alfred.
And
So-
Billy D. Williams wasn't even in the second one.
No.
Commissioner Gordon, he was in it.
Just trying to think of like all the faces.
Yeah. I mean, Batman Returns is still another movie that I feel like goes under the radar.
Yeah, because like some movies have a big shadow, and it's hard to kind of look at them without going, well, like Batman '89 overshadows a lot of Tim Burton stuff because like the popularity and how amazing it is. So like Batman Returns is like, well, now you gotta kind of fit in this weird gray area where it's still Tim Burton, but '89.
I think also Batman Returns doesn't have this great ending.
It just kind of ends, and he's
Yeah,
staying there. And
exactly. It's just kind of like, as you said, it's just there. I think there's an argument that Batman really isn't in it a whole lot. Even Michael Keaton's not really in it a whole lot. I think the story is kind of...
more of a Danny DeVito,
Yeah.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
And it doesn't really have a whole lot of action or suspense to it. I mean, it's still a fun visual movie to watch, and everything that they did with it, and the music's great as well. But, I mean, I can see the arguments as to why... I mean, no matter what, I still don't think it's better than Batman '89, but it gives you more Michael Keaton and more Tim Burton, and I think it satisfies that need, but I always felt like there's still another one in there. And I'm like, could at least like Tim Burton make it animated or something and have Michael Keaton and Billy D. Williams do the voice or something?
Oh, that would be amazing to do. Like what they did with Adam West in the last two movies he did.
Exactly, and now with this Batman '89 comic book, I don't see why they can't do it.
Yeah. That actually, whoever is doing the art for that right now is kind of keeping up with the feel of '89 and the Tim Burton feel, and I'm hoping that down the road after this limited run they'll keep going back and revisiting that.
Take a break and then
Yeah.
give everybody something fresh and new again. I agree. I'd love to see like a Tim Burton universe Riddler and some other characters like that. I'd actually like it if Tim Burton got more involved with it as well. I don't see why he couldn't. But with the Batman '89 comic book and the animated movie, who knows what's going to happen with that. I'd love it to happen just to say, okay, since we can't do it live action, here's at least this. And it would be a perfect time because of this Flash movie and Michael Keaton coming back in the suit.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no idea how much he's going to be in the suit, but it looks like we're going to get some sort of significant time with him, which is fucking awesome.
Oh yeah. I'm excited for that, just to see Michael Keaton come back and play Batman, just even if it's for a little bit.
Same here. Even that teaser that we got, I was like, oh, that's it. But I loved it.
Yeah. Little salty that they could have shown a little bit more, like maybe even the car.
Yeah, even that I was like, oh, come on. It's 30 years.
Oh my god, yeah. But I feel like right now, we keep circling around two movies that we haven't even really talked about yet. So, we were talking about a little bit earlier before we were recording about Ed Wood.
Yes.
So, joking around about this one was because the first time Collin showed me to this, I was like, what the fuck is this movie? Because Ed Wood being the crossdresser that he is, I didn't understand the concept at the time. It wasn't until like watching the movie fully and then obviously getting older, understanding it. I was like, what the fuck? But it's actually a really good movie. Another one that has like an all-star cast, and obviously starring Johnny Depp. But come on, Bill Murray's in it. Sarah Jessica Parker's in it.
Yep.
Trying to think of somebody else, but
Patricia Arquette.
once again, Lisa Marie.
Lisa Marie, yes.
And like it's showing the love that he had for Ed Wood. I could see where all the stuff came from in his movies. But yeah, dude, that movie's actually just a fun watch because like them doing the Bela Lugosi and oh yeah, showing how much that man drank just to deal with bullshit.
Not just drank, but drugs.
Yeah.
And how it was really interesting because we're always watching underdog stories and rooting for the successful guys. And here, this was a movie about one of the world's worst directors ever. And yet Johnny Depp plays him as this lovable character that you're just like, how can you hate this guy?
I know.
And it was such a brilliant performance by Johnny because you're just rooting for him throughout the whole thing. And he's just such a nice guy to everybody that anybody who's mean to him, you're like, hey, fuck you, man.
Yeah.
So you feel for him and you want everything to just work out in his favor. But the dude's just so like happy-go-lucky. Like the octopus scene.
Well, just move around a little bit.
We don't have the motor, so when you get in there, shake his legs around, make it look like he's killing you. And Martin Landau's playing Bela Lugosi. You know, perfect. It looks so bad. And his movies literally are like that.
So the movie they're filming in the movie is, was it Plan 9 from Outer Space?
There was Glenn and Glenda. Plan 9 for Outer Space was at the very end. And then there was another one. Ride of the Monster,
That's
I think.
what it was.
With George the Animal Steel playing, was it Tor?
I ended up seeing Plan 9 from Outer Space just because of this movie, discovering who Ed Wood really was, and I'm like, dude, this is a bad movie.
So bad, it's great.
Yeah, I can see why Ed Wood was made, because there's more to the behind the scenes than what we got to see.
And we all find those hidden gems in somewhere with stuff like that. And knowing Tim Burton, he probably felt like he was an outsider, and that with him being an outsider and not fitting in, Ed Wood was kind of like that as well. And that's another connection that he probably had with them and why he wanted to do it. So I really take Tim Burton's hat off to that. And did you also notice that Danny Elfman didn't do the music in that?
Yeah, that was, like I said, it's one of those things that you feel like is missing, but it doesn't really affect the movie as much as it would in like other circumstances.
I think the reason for that was because they had some sort of a falling out during The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay.
And they just took a break and they got back together again and reconciled. And, they've been together ever since. I think the only other movie that they haven't done anything on together was Sweeney Todd, and that was obviously because it's a Stephen Sondheim musical.
Yeah.
So there's really nothing much that Danny Elfman can do other than I just orchestrate the orchestra and the studio for it. Which to me is probably Tim Burton's last best movie, is Sweeney Todd.
Yeah. The only other memorable one, before we touch base on Sweeney Todd, was Sleepy Hollow.
Absolutely.
That one I feel like is another one of his other really popular movies, because The Headless Horseman alone has always had mythology through it. This one showing that the Headless Horseman can be controlled by the holder of the skull was actually like a cool concept.
I liked it because anybody who doesn't know, the Legend of Sleepy Hollow story is a short story. It's pretty much exactly what that Disney cartoon is. And all you know is just that the Headless Horseman, I think in the comic book he was a soldier, not a mercenary. And he lost his head from a cannonball that came and hit him. And in this, he was a Hessian mercenary, and they went on the attack and chopped his head off when he was wounded and just wanted him out of the way. Played by Christopher Walken in the movie, which is another, I'd say Tim Burton, not
trope.
Really regular, but I mean, he's a go-to guy. He was in Batman Returns, and then he came back for Sleepy Hollow. And
Fun fact, Ray Parker was the one without the head the whole time.
Yes, he was.
So everyone knows him as Darth Maul, but
or Snake Eyes. Yeah, Darth Maul definitely for sure. That was a really cool effect that they did. They just kept a blue or green screen hood on him, and they digitalized the collar.
Yeah.
Because I remember thinking as a kid, I wanted to learn that trick so bad, and I was like, please don't let it be CGI, please let it be practical, because I wanted to film something like that in my backyard. Nope. I was like, well, kind of knew it, but still. But Sleepy Hollow was actually the first movie that I really got into the Johnny Depp and Tim Burton combo.
Making Ichabod more of a CSI rather than... He wasn't as much as a coward as they made him in the Disney animated or the short story. Like, he was just afraid of everything because, dude, that's a lot of crazy shit that man...
It was living the superstitious life, and at that time there was all sorts of demons, devils, goblins, ghosts, witches, and like they're all in that.
I mean, even his mom being tried as a witch, and wasn't Christopher Lee the judge?
No, Christopher Lee was the judge in the very beginning of the movie who sends him to Sleepy Hollow.
Okay. I was like, all I could think of was like, I remember Christopher Lee in it, so obviously.
I think his dad was the judge.
Okay.
And he accused the mom of witchcraft.
That makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Still kind of crazy though.
And Christina Ricci's in that movie as well. We forgot to mention that. Again, I mean, all-star cast. Michael Gambon, who's been in the Harry Potter films, he was in it. Jeffrey Jones again was in it. Ian McDiarmid from Star Wars, he's known for being the Emperor. He was in the movie. Michael Gough, he's known for being Alfred and has done other Tim Burton stuff as well. So, yeah, Tim Burton had his guys in that movie, which I thought was really cool. That has and that oozes Halloween all over the place. Oh, Martin Landau, he was back in it again.
Yeah.
He was the main guy who got his head chopped off at the beginning of the movie.
There's a lot of heads that roll.
There,
but yeah, like you said, it's a really good movie to watch around Halloween or even just in general. But it fits that whole aesthetic of Sleepy Hollow being haunted.
Absolutely, it goes back to those old pioneer, old school days where you gathered around the campfire and you told the old witch stories and ghost stories and all sorts of scary, spooky stuff like that. That's a movie that I watch and I go, this screams Halloween fall season all over the place. Even in that movie, it looks like fall and Halloween season. Like there's no leaves on the trees. It looks like it's cold out.
Fuck right it does.
The Tree of the Dead looks absolutely amazing. Like the art in it looks absolutely amazing. The costume on the horseman looks good. Danny Elfman was back with the music. The blood effects were really cool. And it's really not horrifically scary. It's also just entertaining. Like, you can watch it if you're too scared to watch something. You can put on Sleepy Hollow and still be entertained. Yeah, sure, it might be parts that scare you because it's a scary story, but it's overall just a really cool film.
Yeah.
I think one of the scariest parts is probably when they go into the windmill.
I was thinking that, or the fight between the Horseman and Casper Van Dien. That's a kind of a...
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, like, even on that situation, like, the way he dispatches him, it's like, oh, shit.
Yeah, you saw a lot of things in that movie, but then when that scene happened, you're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I remember doing a double take and rewinding it going, did that just happen?
Oh, get the fuck out of my way.
Yeah.
And then, that's actually where they were showing the difference between black magic and white magic with witches, too. Like, that was one thing I didn't realize until later on, that even Tim Burton knew the difference between black magic and white magic with witches.
There was spells to protect other people and help other people, and then there was the black magic, which was the deal with Satan and committing yourself to him, selling your soul for this and for that, and yeah, it was an education, that's for sure.
It makes me wonder, though, the woman that had the skull, did you really think that he wanted Michelle Pfeiffer for that part? Because that one really looked...
Ooh, that's a good question.
That's like one thing I've always wondered, because I'm looking at her, I'm like, I feel like he wanted Michelle Pfeiffer but couldn't get her. But the woman who played it did an amazing job. Nothing.
Oh,
against.
yeah, Miranda Richardson,
Yeah.
I believe her name. She was another one who was in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
There's actually quite a few people in that movie that wound up becoming cast members in Harry Potter then. because I recognized him and I said, oh, like I think Harry Potter's uncle, I think he was in that movie as well. So that was pretty wild. Yeah, I don't know for sure because I don't really know too much of the history about it. I know Johnny Depp actually wanted the prosthetics to look like Ichabod from the cartoon, and they said, yeah, with the nose and the ears, and they absolutely look ridiculous because they said Johnny Depp's all about
prosthetics.
Hook me up, man.
Well, I could see that with Alice in Wonderland. Damn.
Yeah. I mean, he did it with Edward Scissorhands. Let's see what else. Sweeney Todd was another one. That was after Sleepy Hollow, but still. I mean, he's not afraid to get all into the Hollywood gear and get up. I mean, sometimes playing those weird characters and putting on all that stuff is more.
Let's say kind of an iconic thing at that point.
Yeah. I think it's more of like how he talked about Lon Chaney before, and I think Lon Chaney was known to be as the man of many faces or 1,000 faces, whatever it was. And I remember when he was on Inside the Actor's Studio, James Lipton had asked Johnny about why do you have long hair constantly, and he said it kind of hides you. Like, I don't know if he was just really shy for the longest time or what the deal was. I mean, from a guy that's had long hair quite a bit of his life, I never really felt that way, but I can kind of understand it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know that when he did A Nightmare on Elm Street, Wes Craven said that for his first movie ever, I mean, holy fuck, Johnny Depp's first movie ever was this horror classic.
Yeah.
They said he was like so nervous and always wanting to try to really push himself to do such a good job, and everybody else recognized it, that maybe there is this sort of like perfectionism to him that he still hasn't quite grasped yet, or, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what's going through his mind now. That's a whole other story, but I think it's really cool that he likes to like put on all the makeup and costumes and say, "Yo, this is a movie. Let's go for it."
Yeah.
He'd be perfect for a Batman villain, really. So, Tim, what are you waiting for? I'm sure somebody's saying to Michael Keaton now, like if this Flash movie works, maybe we could get another Batman out of it.
Honestly, I could see him playing the Riddler for some reason. That's
always been the case. I remember when Dark Knight came out and they talked about the third Christopher Nolan movie, and they asked him, they said, what if Christopher Nolan cast you as the Riddler? And he said, sounds like a pretty cool gig.
That would be fun.
Yeah. I'd rather see him in a Tim Burton world and do it, but I'd also see him as a good Scarecrow.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that would be a perfect Tim Burton Batman villain.
Yeah. That's actually one I'm surprised he didn't want to do. Come on, that's like kind of a given.
I know. You could have some like Tim Burton world.
Even if you did Billy D. Williams as Two-Face and Scarecrow.
Warner Brothers, we have an idea for you.
Listen,
this is our idea, by the way.
I got a lot of ideas for Warner Brothers right now to fix a lot of things.
Hey, they're doing the animation thing. If we can make money from a good idea, damn it, we're going to do it. Yeah, call us up. Actually, remember that short film idea I had about a Scarecrow? Can Michael Keaton do the voice, make it animated? Tim Burton style? Aww.
That'd be perfect.
Hell yeah. Where do we make the pitch to? Come on.
I would say Zack Snyder, but
No. Let him be him. But yeah, Sleepy Hollow, I can't really talk enough good things about. I really don't know too many issues with it. It's been a while since I've seen it. I could see some people maybe pissing and moaning about why do we need to know his background, and there's that one scene where he views his dad as the headless horseman walking out of the church after he sees his mom died. Spoiler alert. But
I think it's more or less it's showing like because he was more grounded in reality, and his background based upon his mother being a witch was showing that there was a supernatural aspect that he wasn't allowed to believe. So that's what I think that background was for. It was showing that's why he's based everything in, like, you can smell it, touch it, feel it. It's all about the same.
Yeah.
And like hear it. So that's why I think they showed that, just to show like this is why he is the way he is.
And I liked it. I could just see that some people wouldn't like it. I mean, from a guy who believes in God and has gone to Sunday school and done all the church stuff, I totally understand it. And I'm one of those guys who, like, I want to believe in the paranormal, even though I'm still skeptic of some things. But there are things that make me go, I feel like it's hard not to believe. And there are also things that we're not told. And then you get these people who are so-called experts. They tell you, well, where do you think this and that comes from? Or things like Ed and Lorraine Warren, where they say, well, if you hear this creaking or something, it's really just the pipes and the wind and how it makes this. So your house isn't haunted.
And it's like they're ones that believe in the supernatural, but they have to debunk it to show it could not be at all.
And those are the kind of people that would talk like that, where you can go, okay, I believe it because they're being real with you.
Yeah.
And when they're just like force feeding bullshit down your throat and just trying to make you brainwashed and saying, no, this is what you got to believe because this is the way it is. It's like, well, is it? And then as soon as you question it, it's, come on, man, that's not what I'm saying. You've got to believe this because this is the way it is. And it's like, well, I don't believe everything in the Bible because Whisper Down the Alley says this shit got askewed somewhere. So,
I mean, was the bush really on fire?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I think it's important that we leave things open to interpretation, and you should almost do things on your own self and your own research. And like I said, believing in God and going to church and stuff, we never talked about the devil and knowing how to fight your enemy. So I had to do that research on my own, and you got to be careful who you talk to because then they're like, oh my God, what are you doing? And it's like, relax.
I'm just curious.
Yeah. It's no different than a soldier getting ready to go fight overseas and knowing what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Or if you're studying martial arts and it's like, your enemy's going to throw this, what do you do when he throws that? That's kind of how I view it. You know, I'm not a scholar in the dark realm, you know, by any means of the stretch, but I am familiar with what's going on just so that it's also a mechanism not to fall into that abyss and go, this is why we say to be good. Because there is stuff with it that is very selfish and can lead down a dark path. Like, it's almost like, you're going to laugh at this, but it's almost like the Shredder and Ninja Turtles, where they like to get people who are lost and they feel unloved and alone. And they say, well, come with us. You know, you'll feel great. You can, you know, be as selfish as you want. But yet you have to do a sacrifice, and they kind of hold it above your head kind of thing and be like, well, we have this on you and you can't leave us now.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it is. And then
it's like picking low-hanging fruit because you know they need something in their life that's more stable.
Exactly. And a lot of time the people involved with that are just lost and alone, and they're not really like leaders wanting to lead more leaders. They just want to be leaders with followers that are just as guilty and feel as ashamed as they are, so that they can say, well, I'm not alone. You know, I got all these other people, and really they're sad and they're ashamed of themselves is what a lot of it comes down to. And I also think that when you take away a fear of God, that leads to trouble. Because then, I mean, you just, if you're not afraid of God, then what are you really afraid of? And then you can do anything in your mind, and that's just going to lead to serious trouble. Like, a lot of times you hear about people who are serial killers. You know, they don't talk about any fear of God whatsoever. They just go and kill and hurt kids or whatever, and that's screwed up. So going back to Sleepy Hollow, yeah, I totally get that scene as to why you learn the good magic versus the bad magic and why they put it in there. I think to some people who wouldn't understand that and just want to watch a movie, it's kind of like, why is this in here? It kind of slows the pacing down. But I enjoyed Sleepy Hollow overall from beginning to end.
Even the big reveal, I think, is what really makes the movie. Finally getting to see the backstory.
It was its own thing. It's not just this little short story. It has good action, it has good horror. The aesthetics of the movie are fantastic. Like the woods and everything. Yeah. Oh my God, it's fucking awesome. I think that's like another, it's kind of like the Batman 89 of Sleepy Hollow. It had great aesthetics, great costumes, great acting, great music, and it was its own world. Like, I don't know what Sleepy Hollow in New York actually looked like in that time frame, but it worked for that movie, and I was entertained from beginning to end.
Yeah.
So I can't say enough good things about Sleepy Hollow. That was the one that really got me started in the Johnny and Tim. And when I heard that was their third time, that's when I went back and saw Ed Wood and Edward Scissorhands.
I remember seeing Edward Scissorhands before, and I remember seeing, obviously, Beetlejuice, but I don't remember a lot of his other ones up until watching Sleepy Hollow. Because, like you said, you go back and like, oh, so this man did this, so I went back and kind of looked at the whole thing up to that point. And I think I would have to agree, like, Sleepy Hollow as a whole is what brought me into the Tim Burton world. Like, it wasn't just Nightmare Before Christmas, it wasn't just Batman, because even those movies are Tim Burton movies, but they're still not his movies. Alright, so yeah, I was a fan of those two movies, but seeing that made me look deeper into the Tim Burton world. And that's actually how I discovered, like, Mars Attacks and, I just drew a blank, like, Pee Wee Herman and stuff like that. So it's like, it's kind of funny, but I feel the next movie is a nice way to end this, because, like, I remember seeing this with you, to be honest.
Yep.
Sweeney Todd being a musical, I think, threw a lot of people off, because I think they just expected a Tim Burton movie without the music. But, because even when we were in the theater, I remember people complaining about that. I'm like, what the fuck did you guys expect?
Yeah, I mean, it was all over the trailers, and they made this big hype about Johnny singing because he wasn't known for being a singer, and he had to learn on a whim. And from what, I mean, I'm no music scholar, but from what I heard, he was actually all right. I mean, I wouldn't put him on American Idol or anything, but
he fit the character.
He did. And you can play around with the studio a lot more than you can on stage. So
yeah.
for what it was good. And I think people got to differentiate movie and stage. This wasn't the full musical. This was the movie musical.
Yeah. And because you can only do so much in a movie, that even on stage you're able to have a little more freedom and ad-libbing, because you got, like, let's say 2 hours, where most movies got to stick around the hour and a half. Like, now more recently is the, let's do 2.5 hours. Get the fuck out of here. I don't have time for that shit sometimes.
I mean, Rocky Horror was pretty good at keeping it under that time mark, but even they cut out some music. And their songs aren't that long either. And the pacing goes by fast.
Yeah.
Sweeney Todd tells a story about Benjamin Barker and how he was wrongfully imprisoned, lost his wife, lost his daughter, and then he comes back after years later and he's a changed man. I mean, who wouldn't be?
Yeah. I mean, that thing really messes him up.
Oh, yeah. I like how they turned it from this, like how we said, like the living world and the dead world, and it's kind of like when it was actually, believe it or not, one of the first times where the living world was vibrant. Like, he was happy and all this other, like when you watch Corpse Bride, it's really gray and dull in the living world, and then the dead world is bright and vibrant. Beetlejuice is kind of, like bright, vibrant colors, regular town every day, and then when it goes into the dead world, they got like,
more the mute
blues and different sorts of colors all over the place. But it was like really bright, really vibrant, and then when he comes back, it's just all dull, gray, raining. He's paled out of his ass, and he's got dark circles around his eyes. It was like, and they called him the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. I was like, I liked that. I liked that he looked different. I know that there were some directors that for musicals said they didn't like that because he wanted him to be a regular person. And I was like, okay, but I feel like if the character is going to change, he should change and look different. Look like all the life's gone from him, basically.
Yeah. I mean, even the relationship between Benjamin Button and Mrs. Lovett, I actually enjoyed the back and forth they had. Like, when she ends up realizing what he's going to do and she starts working with him to kind of help out, I was like, that's actually pretty cool. Like,
she's got insight on his wife still being alive,
yeah,
and that his daughter's still around.
Yeah,
knows that the judge actually had something to do with it as well. It's like, sneaky and sly.
Because she needed him more than I think he needed her.
Yeah, exactly.
The one montage they do while he's singing and he's slitting throats, and the one that you expect he's going to do ends up he's actually shaving because his kids are sitting there. I was laughing about that because, like, you're expecting me to go, all right, cool, come to buy it, it's like, oh no, he's actually doing his job.
Yeah. And again, that was kind of like another Sleepy Hollow in a way, where the look of the atmosphere, the costumes, the music, even the blood like had this like really vibrant color that stuck out in this black and whitish kind of looking world.
I felt like the blood was more like theater blood than it was.
Yeah, in movie blood. Yeah.
I think with both Sleepy Hollow and that, because it looked like it was a little bit thicker and really red. I don't know why I'm doing it around my neck, but
I loved it though. I just think like that dark black and white environment with red coming out just has this like amazing pop to it that I just love that color scheme where it's like a black and white or like bluish silver. It just looks so great.
Honestly, because of that movie, I think we went and saw the play then because like
we saw it Halloween. I think we saw it Halloween in 2008 then.
Yeah. It was actually really cool seeing the differences. I think that's what it was. So it was like cool seeing like, all right, this is the movie version, and then seeing the theater version was what you got to see a lot of it, and like stuff being pulled that they could pull in a movie over the stage show. So it was really cool with that.
Even John was actually in a play of Sleepy Hollow. Sweeney Todd. And
really?
That was actually the show, because I was surprised to see that Benjamin Barker and Mrs. Lovett were regular people.
Okay.
And the director said he wanted them to look like regular people. He didn't want them to look like weird outcasts or something. And I was like, oh, okay. I kind of missed it though.
Yeah.
But I understood why. And it's something different. I'm not going to fault the director for being different. But I just thought it was a little too like, well, if you have an opportunity to bring something unique and different, why not do it? But it's not my product. I still had a good time. It was a fun show.
But I was thinking the movie, discovering that Sacha Baron Cohen can actually sing is what caught me off guard.
Yeah, who would have thought? Because everybody knew him as
Borat
and all that other weird nonsense that he does.
It was one of those things like, I'm like, when I heard that he was in the movie, I'm like, oh really, this motherfucker? And I feel like the misconception of comedians in normal movies is kind of like the normal now. Because look at him in that, doing it straight, playing it, singing amazing, which is still kind of shocking. Danny McBride writing for Halloween 2018, like it's stuff like that like I feel like I shouldn't assume anymore, because like comedians are one thing and then dick and fart jokes are another.
Here's the thing that people don't take into account when this stuff happens is a lot of times, especially past comedians, guys like Bill Murray and Robin Williams, they just studied theater. So they knew how to act from the very beginning. It's just that comedy came so well to them that was their thing. That's what they got hired to do. And then that's what they became known for. And then I think it's the people who just get strictly into comedy just because they get up and tell jokes. Say somebody like Joe Rogan. You know, he had like really no aspirations to ever be an actor. It was just he loved stand-up comedy. He liked telling the jokes and doing the stand-up comedian stuff. So, and now he's doing podcasts and UFC stuff. That's his thing. And when people say, would you ever get back into acting? He's like, nah.
He just likes to talk.
Yeah, because that's not his thing. You know, he said he's a comedian. He's not an actor. When, like I said, guys like Bill Murray and Robin Williams, they were trained into doing acting. It's just comedy was one extra thing that they do.
And they do it well.
Absolutely. I mean, they're legends in the business. And when you see guys like Robin Williams and Bill Murray do serious stuff, like hell, I thought Bill Murray should have beat Sean Penn out for, what was that movie? The one where he went to Japan and Scarlett Johansson, Lost in Translation. I thought he was so much better than Sean Penn was in Mystic River, and I was like, oh, the Oscars should go to him. And that year, Johnny Depp was nominated for Jack Sparrow, but I knew that they just weren't gonna give him that honor.
I think the one movie that always sticks out with me is like with Bill Murray was actually Saint Vincent. It's an newer movie, but older Bill Murray.
Yep.
And it wasn't like a comedy role. It was more of a straight-laced, like little jokes in here and there, but it was him being serious. And
exactly. Yeah. That was a very good movie that he was in with Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah.
In it. Yeah, I enjoyed that movie.
So, like I said, I guess it's one misconception that I feel like newer comedians, I should stop, like, I guess typecasting them in a way, because, like, I said Sacha Baron Cohen. I saw the LAG show. I saw Borat, so that's what I expected. I shouldn't have expected it, because
It's different because, like I said, nobody realizes that right away when they think, oh, you're a comedian, you can only do comedy. But if you have that background where your aspirations were to just be an actor and then the comedy came secondary, it's a little different. And that might be his background where he studied acting and then the comedy was just his stick and he rolled with it.
I could see that. I'm not gonna lie. I still want to see his Freddie Mercury movie. The shit that he talked about, I'm like, I kind of want.
Sounded like those conversations he had with Queen did not go well, though.
Obviously, because we all saw Bohemian Rhapsody. Even giving Johnny the opportunity to sing was another thing. Like, I knew he played guitar. Getting to see that with Hollywood Vampires was actually really cool. But getting to see him sing, like you said, it wasn't fantastic, but it was kind of cool, fit the character. And even Helena Bonham Carter getting to sing a little bit in that too, showing that she could do a lot more. So I feel like Tim Burton took a chance, and it paid off a lot better than most people realized.
I know some people thought Sweeney Todd was hit or miss, and I was like, I don't know. I heard them complain about the blood, and I was just like, whatever. Like, did you ever watch The Shining or Nightmare on Elm Street? You want to talk about blood?
Yeah, dude, that's a lot.
Oh, I'm so desensitized to it now. Everybody, ooh.
Well, you think about it. Us growing up with a horror background.
Yeah.
Normal people.
We're not normal.
We're normal enough.
Sometimes I feel like we're more normal than some people who think they're normal. Ugh.
That's a whole other conversation.
I know.
They're going about to go start new. No.
I don't know what more to add. Like,
I am curious to see what he's gonna continue doing, if anything at all. Like,
one thing that I do want to say that at first I thought sounded so stupid was that Superman Lives movie. Until I saw the documentary The Death of Superman Lives, and you got to see more of the art, more of how he said that there was one promotional picture of Nicolas Cage that the suit was totally different, and I think he had long hair, and he had to explain that it was just to see like if the costume fit or how Nicolas Cage would actually look in it.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, he said that's all it was. Before the internet, and he said the costume was going to be the traditional Superman costume. And then it would go to this black and silver one to bring him back to life.
So, like, almost essentially the Death of Superman.
Exactly. And they showed early CGI work, and it looked really good. It sounded like they didn't get the credit for it that they should have for it to be as bombastic and as cool as it actually should be. It's a shame because it looked like they were going to get ready to film in Pittsburgh. I believe it was either Sandra Bullock or Courtney Cox was going to be Lois Lane.
I could see Sandra Bullock.
Which were both really good casting choices. Nicolas Cage still gets me as like Superman though, but
because he's a lot of hit or miss. So.
Yeah, and the I can't see the Lois. I'm sorry, I was running late today. I just can't.
Oh my god.
If like the glasses would be the thing that hide his face. I don't know about that. But I think it is a shame. And Tim Burton sounded like he was still really upset that it never got made.
I feel like they should at least give it an opportunity. Even now they got to recast Superman in them, obviously. But I think it'd be kind of cool seeing his vision of Superman. Because we've seen a lot. Well, not even a lot. We've only seen like really two. Because I'm not counting Brandon Routh.
Yeah.
It's fucking one off.
He did say at the end of that documentary, he goes, one of these days I feel like, we're still going to make it.
I mean, the way Warner Brothers is now, they might, just because they feel like they're throwing everything at the fucking wall. But
see what sticks, Couldn't hurt.
I think the only thing that they probably should cut out is the giant spider at the end, but...
Oh, yeah. I think they said that was the other thing. They took the money from the... It was such a huge budget to make Superman Lives, and I don't think they got it all. So then they took the money from Superman Lives and made Wild Wild West from it.
And lo and behold, there's a giant spider.
And lo and behold, yeah. And of course they talked to Kevin Smith about the script, and they talked to John Peters, or is it John Peters or Peter Goober? because both of them worked on Batman, and one of them carried on the Superman Lives. So, I don't know. So that being said, because I guess that's it, for today.
I mean, like, curious to see what he's gonna do in the future, even if it is something for Disney, something for anybody. Like at this point, I'm always curious, but I'm like, I always got that feeling like I might be disappointed.
Yeah, to me at this point, I would love to see him do a third Batman movie just as animated.
Yeah.
Bring back guys like Michael Keaton, get Johnny, or other people that can trust, and build your world just at least through animation, and give us that. It should take a little bit of pressure off of him as well.
I mean, honestly, I'd even be fine with seeing another Dark Shadows, because it's a fun movie.
It was very fun.
And I'd love to see where it would go from there.
I don't think it was great, but I thought it had some fun moments to it. I think when they said they were going to do a vampire movie, they should have just did their own vampire movie. That's where I say they probably should have ripped Dark Shadows off and not have taken directly the Dark Shadows property.
Yeah.
Because I think rip-offs actually in a lot of ways work better, because you don't have to worry about the copyright and have your own freedom to do this and do that. I mean, yeah, you might have to worry about getting sued, but no matter what, you're always going to get sued, or somebody's going to find a way to take you to the bank anyway.
Yeah. Because all I want is a payday some days.
Exactly. So
they might just set me pissed off.
You might just be better off just doing your own thing. Do you have a top 5 or top 3 favorite Tim Burton movies?
Honestly, we talked about much of them. So I would actually, if I go from bottom to top, it's gonna be. I'm trying to think off. Let's just go with. It's not gonna come out, is it? I'll go Ed Wood as number 5.
Okay, good.
And then number 4, I would probably go with. Now I'm trying to calculate, and no, I probably would go with Edward Scissorhands. 3 would probably be Batman '89, Sweeney Todd, and then actually Beetlejuice was the one that really stuck out to me.
I'd have to say, for me, I gotta think about this for a little bit.
I know, that's what I was calculating.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you, bottom to top. It's kind of flip-floppy here, but I think I'm gonna have to say Beetlejuice at 5, Ed Wood at 4, Sleepy Hollow at 3. Believe it or not, even though it's not a feature, I'm gonna say Vincent at 2.
That's good.
Because I can't get enough of that. And then, as always, Batman '89, because that started it all for me, and it's been my favorite movie and my penultimate, and it's been such an inspiration in my life, and just has everything I think a filmmaker, a film lover can have in that movie. It's just absolutely fantastic. So
yeah, I mean, hell, we even did an episode for it.
Yeah, I know, right? I got so excited at Mahoning when I saw Edward Scissorhands and they played the Batman '89 pre-score trailer. I was as soon as the Warner Brothers logo came on, I got my phone ready and I'm snapping pictures there, and I was like, oh my god, I'm just seeing that on 35mm on that drive-in screen. I was like,
oh yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to see that whole movie right then and there. It's like, fuck the rest of these. Play the whole thing.
Start screaming at the booth.
Come on! My dream would be Batman '89 and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie, 1990, back to back at a drive-in on 35.
I think that'd be amazing.
That'd be childhood blast from the past right there.
Absolutely.
That's what Mahoning should do.
Blast from the past.
Yeah, blast from the past, childhood.
Yeah.
Batman '89 and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990.
Dude, Cinema Sanitariums presents.
And do a podcast there when it happens.
Dude, do one with them.
Yeah, there we go. Mahoning. Okay. Well, this was a fun episode. I'm glad we got a chance to talk about Tim Burton. We never really got a chance to dive into a whole lot of Tim Burton, besides for probably our Batman episode.
Yeah. We
might have glossed over him here and there and talked about some things, but he's got such a great resume and has so many great films that I feel like he has gone lost in the new wave of filmmakers, and plus he hasn't really had anything that's been so significant like he used to.
Yeah, like he used to stand out a lot. Like, oh, Tim Burton. Now it's just like a Tim Burton.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is. Like, you didn't even know what 2 of his films were released recently.
Yeah. In fact, though, I had talked about it before. I'm like, I don't know.
And I guess the next one that I see on the list is possibly a Beetlejuice 2, and I'm like, well, we've heard this for decades now, and it's like,
oh, fucking almost 30 years.
Yeah.
Actually, it's been 30 years.
So, is it or isn't it gonna happen? If you're gonna do it, just do it.
If they do it, it better be Lydia's children at this point, because I would love to see Winona Ryder. I would love to see Michael Keaton, but I feel like if they're gonna do like how Ghostbusters is doing it and kind of passing the torch, then fucking do it.
Not that Beetlejuice Goes to Hawaii idea of a sequel.
I will fight somebody.
Ugh, that was horrible.
I mean, literally, I might actually fight somebody on that one.
I'm glad that never happened. But Tim Burton was very special to us. Not only was he very influential as a filmmaker to me and as an artist, but it was also another way how Jeff and I also became friends, because it was like, yo, Tim Burton.
Yeah.
And for a long time, we were watching a lot of his stuff and always looking forward to his stuff. And we hope that things do get better for him and that something more significant does come out of it. If not, hey, he's got a great resume of films that are going to live on forever. He's definitely made his stamp in the film world, and you're lucky if you get at least one good film that's going to stand the test of time. And here he's actually had several. So,
yeah.
So we hope people go back and give Tim Burton another chance, or at least go back and watch his old stuff. You can contact Jeff and I on social media and just say, hey, what do you guys recommend and why? And we'll be more than happy to answer questions for you guys.
Yeah. I know I've been on more on social media the past month because of the 31 Nights. So, like I said, I'm there. He's there. So.
And we get random, I know I get some random people that say, hey, how you doing? Oh, good, thanks. And talk to me a little bit here and there. Usually it's me for some reason.
Yeah, I don't even know. I just get new friend requests. I'm like,
yeah, I'm like, hey, come join the show.
Go see some dumb shit, guys. Like, come on down.
Oh, just wait till they hang with us in person.
Oh my god, we're gonna see some dumb shit.
Like my Freddy Krueger costume.
Oh my god.
And on that note.
Yeah, let's end this before I actually post it. Sorry, Jackie.
With that being said, we shall sign off. This is Collin Peters.
And Jeff Manfred.
Thank you all once again for listening to another episode of Jeff and Collin in the Morning. Until next time, stay safe, stay crazy.
Please, somebody help me.
Oh, yeah.